When temperatures drop to -30 degrees, your exposed skin freezes in under 10 minutes. Your breath turns to ice crystals before it leaves your lips. This is the northern Great Plains in winter, and for thousands of years, entire families, including newborn babies and 80-year-old grandmothers, lived through these conditions in homes made of sticks and animal hide. Not just survived, thrived. This is what it actually felt like to wake up inside a teepee when the world outside was trying to kill you. Quick thing, subscribe if these help you sleep, and drop where you're listening from plus the time. Someone last week said they play these while working night shift at a hospital. Kind of love that. Alright, we're heading to the Great Plains tonight. But hold on, get yourself comfortable first. I mean it. Fix your pillows, grab that blanket. This one's worth settling in for. Your eyes open to darkness. Not the gentle darkness of a bedroom with streetlights filtering through curtains. This is complete, absolute black. For a moment, your brain doesn't know where you are. Then you feel the buffalo robe pressing against your cheek, the thick winter fur soft against your skin. And everything comes flooding back. You are Winona. You are 20 winters old. This is your teepee, your first winter as a married woman, and you are responsible for keeping everyone inside this cone of hide and cedar alive until spring. The cold hits your face like a slap. The fire has burned down to almost nothing, just a faint orange glow where the coals used to be strong. Your breath comes out in a visible cloud, even in the darkness. You can feel ice crystals forming in your nostrils with each inhale. The temperature inside your home has dropped maybe to 40 degrees, which sounds almost warm until you remember that outside, beyond those carefully stitched buffalo hides, the air temperature is -30. That's the kind of cold that kills. Your husband is a warm mass beside you, still breathing slow and deep. 3 children sleep in their own robes around the central fire pit, and your mother-in-law, an old woman who has survived 60 winters in Tipis, just like this one, snores softly near the back wall. 8 people in total share this space. 8 beating hearts, 8 sources of warmth, 8 reasons why you need to get up right now and rebuild that fire before the cold seeps any deeper into your home. But here's the thing about waking up in a teepee in winter. You don't just throw off your blankets and walk across the room. That would be insane. You would lose body heat so fast your muscles would start cramping within minutes. Instead, you do what generations of Lakota women have done before you. You stay in your robe and you plan. The fire pit is 3 feet away. The dried buffalo chips, those flat discs of dried dung that burn surprisingly hot, are stacked just beyond your reach near the doorway. The twisted grass bundles, tied tight so they burn slow like manufactured logs, are hanging from one of the lodge poles above the children. And somewhere in the coals, buried and waiting, are the stones you heated before sleep. Those stones are still radiating warmth into the earth beneath your sleeping area, keeping the frozen ground from stealing heat from your body. Okay, you can do this. You push the heavy buffalo robe down just enough to free your arms, and the cold bites at your shoulders through the thin calf hide you wore to bed. The decorated outer side of your sleeping robe faces up, painted with symbols of protection, and you can just barely see the geometric patterns in the faint glow from the coals. The fur side presses against your body, trapping air, creating that dead space that keeps you alive. This is the same principle that makes your teepee work. Dead air, trapped air that doesn't move. Your ancestors figured this out thousands of years ago. They discovered that still air is the best insulator in the world, better than anything modern engineers would come up with. So they built their homes in layers. The outer cover of your teepee is made from 14 buffalo hides sewn together with sinew thread by you and your mother and your aunts during the warm moons. Each hide was scraped clean of fat and flesh, then worked with buffalo brain and marrow until it became soft as cloth, then greased with more buffalo fat until it turned waterproof. The women in your family spent months on this cover, months of work just for the outer shell, but that's only the beginning. Inside, hanging from a rope that circles the lodge poles about 7 feet up, is the inner lining, another layer of hides, this one with the bottom edge weighted down by stones, so it creates a sealed chamber. Between that outer cover and this inner wall, dead air forms, just like the insulation in a winter coat, just like the fur pressed against your body right now. And that trapped air raises the interior temperature by 20 degrees. 20 degrees might not sound like much until you do the math. Outside it's -30. The wind is screaming across the plains at who knows how many miles per hour. Without this teepee, you would be dead in less than an hour. Your blood would thicken, your muscles would seize, and your heart would simply stop beating. That's what the Great Plains does to unprotected bodies in winter. But inside your home, with that dead air insulation and that central fire and those 8 warm bodies sharing space, the temperature stays between 60 and 70 degrees. That's the difference between life and death. That's about 90 degrees of separation between you and the killing cold outside. And it all comes down to this cone of sticks and hide that your grandmother's grandmother's grandmother would have recognized instantly. You push yourself up on one elbow and reach for the pile of dried buffalo chips near the entrance. The cold is sharp on your exposed hand, almost painful, but you grab 2 of the flat discs and pull them close. Buffalo chips were gathered by women and children before winter set in, piles and piles of them stored in rawhide bags. Out on the open plains, wood is scarce. Trees don't grow where grass rules the world, so you burn what the buffalo leave behind. And here's the funny part. It works beautifully. You blow gently on the coals. Nothing happens at first. The orange glow stays stubborn and low. You lean closer, ignoring the smoke that stings your eyes, and blow again, longer this time. A small flame flickers to life. You place the first buffalo chip on top, carefully, not smothering the flame but feeding it. The chip catches, then the second one. Within minutes the fire is burning strong again and you can feel the heat pushing back against the cold. Your mother-in-law stirs but doesn't wake. She's done this dance with winter fires more times than you can count. She knows the rhythm of survival as instinctively as breathing. When you were young, before you married, you watched her maintain her teepee through blizzards that buried everything in white. You watched her adjust the smoke flaps with outside poles, directing the smoke away from the living space even when the wind was howling. You watched her pack snow around the base of the teepee, but never touching the hide directly, always maintaining a gap because contact meant rot. Snow as insulation. Who would have thought? But it works. The banked snow creates another barrier against the cold, another layer of protection. Some families stuff dried grass between the liner and the cover for even more insulation. Others add an ozan, a partial ceiling that traps warm air near the top while preventing downdrafts from dropping cold air onto the people below. Every single element of this home represents thousands of years of refinement, thousands of years of trial and error, of women teaching daughters who taught their daughters, of knowledge passed down through generations like a living thing. Your great-grandmother survived winters exactly like this one. Your great-great-grandmother too. They all slept under buffalo robes, tended central fires, adjusted smoke flaps, and woke in the darkness before dawn to rebuild flames that had burned too low. And now it's your turn. The fire crackles and pops. Sparks rise toward the smoke hole at the top of the teepee, that clever opening controlled by two flaps and outside poles that let smoke escape while keeping rain and snow out. The design is so elegant it almost seems impossible. Cold air enters at ground level, under the edge of the liner. That cold air hits the fire, heats up, and rises naturally through the smoke hole. The liner creates a chimney effect, directing the airflow upward so smoke exits even on windless days when it might otherwise pool and choke everyone inside. Your people figured out thermodynamics. They just didn't call it that. You reach for the twisted grass bundles hanging from the lodge pole above the sleeping children. These bundles are tied so tight they burn slow, lasting for hours instead of minutes. You add 2 of them to the fire and the flames grow higher, stronger. The heat pushes outward like a living thing, driving the cold back into the corners, back toward the hide walls, back outside where it belongs. One of the children moves in her sleep, a little girl of maybe 4 winters, and you watch the firelight play across her small face. She doesn't know how close death sits outside these walls. She doesn't understand that the temperature difference between where she sleeps and where the wolves hunt is nearly 100 degrees. To her, this is just home. This is warmth and family and the smell of smoke and dried meat. This is all she's ever known. And honestly, that's how it should be. Because your job, the job of Lakota women for countless generations, is to make survival feel like normal life. Your job is to build these homes, own them, maintain them, and keep them warm enough that children can dream without fearing the cold. The men hunt. They bring back the buffalo that provide the hides and the meat and the sinew and the fat. But the home itself, that belongs to you. You built this teepee with your own hands alongside your mother and aunts during the warm moons before your wedding. You selected the cedar poles, each one about 20 feet long, and you lashed them together with sinew, that tough connective tissue from buffalo that's stronger than any modern tent rope. You created a tripod first, 3 or 4 poles tied at the top and spread at the base, and that tripod became the foundation for everything that followed. 12 additional poles completed the frame. Then came the cover, that massive semicircle of sewn hides that you and the other women had spent a whole season preparing. You lifted it using a single pole, the lifting pole wrapping it around the back of the frame and pulling it forward until it covered everything except the doorway and the smoke hole. You pinned it closed with wooden pins. You pegged it to the ground with stone hammers. You stepped back and looked at what you had made, and for the first time in your life, you owned something that was entirely yours. This home belongs to you. If you ever chose to divorce your husband, which you can do simply by throwing his belongings out the door, he would leave and you would stay. The teepee stays with the woman, always has, always will, because the woman is the one who knows how to keep everyone alive. The fire is burning strong now. You can feel sweat starting to form on your forehead, which means the temperature inside has climbed back to where it should be. You pull the buffalo robe back up over your shoulders and settle against the padded earth, feeling the residual warmth from the hot stones you buried there before sleep. Those stones were heated in the coals until they glowed, then wrapped in hide and tucked beneath the sleeping areas. They release warmth for hours, a slow, steady heat that fights the cold creeping up from the frozen ground. When camps move, which they do often, following the buffalo herds, the women seal hot coals in buffalo horns plugged with clay. Preserved fire, travelling across the plains, carried in the hollowed bone of the animals that made everything possible. Your husband stirs beside you. He opens one eye, sees the fire burning strong, and closes it again without a word. He knows what you did. He knows you saved everyone tonight by catching the fire before it died completely. But he won't say anything because this is what women do. This is expected. This is survival. Outside, the wind howls across the frozen plains. You can hear it rushing past the teepee, trying to find a way in, but the conical shape of your home deflects it perfectly. That's another thing your ancestors figured out. A cone is the most wind-resistant structure you can build. The wind slides around it instead of pushing against it, and the back of the teepee, the side facing west where the worst winds come from, is steeper than the front, not a perfect cone. A tilted one, designed specifically to brace against the storms that come screaming down from the mountains. You close your eyes and listen to the wind. It sounds angry, almost alive, but you're not afraid. This teepee has stood through worse. Your grandmother's teepee stood through worse. The knowledge that keeps you safe has been tested against the harshest winters on Earth for longer than anyone can remember. 8 to 10 people, one small fire, ingenious insulation. That's the formula. That's what enables entire civilizations to thrive, where modern humans, with all their technology and fancy equipment, would struggle to survive a single night. The fire crackles, the wind howls, the buffalo robes press warm against your skin, and somewhere in the darkness outside, the wolves are hunting, their breath frosting in the killing cold, while you and your family sleep safe and warm in a home made of sticks and hide. This is how your people have always lived. This is how they thrived for thousands of years before anyone from across the ocean ever set foot on this land. Not by fighting the winter, but by understanding it. Not by conquering the cold, but by working with it. Using the same physics that modern scientists would eventually give fancy names to. Dead air insulation, thermal dynamics, convection currents. Your grandmother didn't know those words, but she knew how to survive negative 30 degrees in a portable home that could be set up or taken down in less than an hour. She knew how to keep 8 people warm with a single small fire. She knew how to turn buffalo chips into heat, and buffalo hides into walls, and buffalo sinew into thread that held everything together. And now you know too. The little girl turns again in her sleep, mumbling something soft and incomprehensible. You watch her for a moment, then let your own eyes close. The fire will burn for hours now. The stones beneath you will stay warm until dawn. The walls of hide and air and snow will hold the cold at bay, just as they have for thousands and thousands of nights before this one. Tomorrow you will rise with the sun. You will cook pemmican over the central fire, that incredible survival food made from dried meat and rendered fat and berries pounded together into a paste that contains more calories per pound than almost anything else in the world. You will adjust the smoke flaps as the wind shifts direction. You will check the snow banked around the base of your home, making sure it hasn't shifted, making sure that gap between snow and hide remains intact. You will do what Lakota women have always done. You will survive. But that's tomorrow. Right now, wrapped in buffalo robes, warmed by stones and fire and the bodies of your family, you let the wind sing you back to sleep. The teepee creaks slightly as the poles settle against each other. The fire pops and hisses, and somewhere deep in your dreaming mind you hear your grandmother's voice teaching you how to build a home that could stand against anything the Great Plains threw at it. 20 feet of cedar, 14 buffalo hides, 8 warm bodies, 1 small fire. That's all you need to survive the harshest winters on Earth. The sun doesn't so much rise as it sort of bleeds into the sky. Pink first, then orange, then that pale winter yellow that never quite warms anything. You can see the light filtering through the smoke hole above you, and you know it's time. Getting out of a buffalo robe when it's cold is its own special kind of torture. You've been warm all night, cocooned in that thick winter fur, and now you have to leave it. Your body knows what's coming, and it does not want any part of this plan. But Winona, you have a family to feed. You sit up fast, like ripping off a bandage, and the cold hits your face and chest before you can even take a breath. Your husband is already awake, pulling on his leggings and moccasins. The moccasins are the good ones, the winter ones with thick rawhide soles sewn to soft uppers, and an extra layer of rabbit fur lining the inside. He made them himself last autumn, back when making winter moccasins seemed like just another chore instead of the difference between keeping your feet or losing them to frostbite. The children are stirring now. The little girl, the 4-year-old, is making that whining sound kids make when they don't want to wake up. Fair enough, nobody wants to wake up when it's this cold. Your mother-in-law is already moving. Of course she is. 60 winters old and she still beats everyone to the punch. She's got a rawhide bag open and she's pulling out strips of dried meat, laying them on a flat stone near the fire. Breakfast, or at least the start of it. You pull on your own moccasins, then your winter dress, the heavy one made from elk hide with the decorative quill work along the sleeves. The quill work isn't just for show, though it is beautiful. It marks you as a married woman of standing. It tells anyone who sees you that you come from a family with skills, with traditions, with the patience to soak porcupine quills in berry juice until they turn red and yellow and blue, then weave them into patterns that mean something. But honestly, right now, you'd trade all the quill work in the world for another hour under that buffalo robe. The fire needs feeding again. You grab more twisted grass bundles from the pole where they hang and add them to the flames. The grass catches quick, burns slow, releases that sweet, smoky smell that means home. Every teepee smells like this. Smoke and dried meat and buffalo hide and something else underneath, something warm and human and alive. Your husband is heading for the door. Well, not a door exactly, more like a flap of buffalo hide that covers the opening. He pushes it aside and you catch a glimpse of the world outside, white, everything white, snow piled in drifts, wind still kicking up little swirls of powder, and that brutal pale sky that promises no warmth whatsoever. He's going to check on the horses. Your family has 11 of them, kept in a makeshift corral at the edge of camp. Horses changed everything for your people. Before horses came, dogs pulled the travois and teepees were smaller because dogs could only haul so much. Now, with horses, you can build bigger homes, carry more supplies, follow the buffalo herds faster and farther than ever before. But horses need care. Especially in winter, they need water, which means breaking through ice on the creek. They need food, which means digging through snow to find whatever grass is still alive underneath. They need protection from wolves, who are hungry and desperate and very much not interested in respecting your property rights. Your husband will be gone for at least an hour, maybe 2, which means everything else falls to you. The oldest boy, maybe 11 winters, is pulling on his own winter clothes. He's got that look kids get when they're trying to act like adults. Serious, determined, ready to help. Go check the snowbank, you tell him. Make sure no part is touching the cover. He nods and ducks out through the door flap. He knows why this matters. Snow against the buffalo hide means moisture. Moisture means rot. Rot means death. Not immediately, but eventually. A teepee cover that starts rotting in winter won't make it through spring. And a family without shelter on the Great Plains is a family that doesn't survive. So you maintain that gap. Always. You pile the snow up around the base for insulation, but you keep it a few inches away from the actual hide. It's one of those things that seems small until you think about what happens if you don't do it. Your mother-in-law has the dried meat warming by the fire now. The smell is making your stomach growl. You haven't eaten since last night, and your body burned a lot of fuel keeping itself warm while you slept. That's the thing about cold. It eats calories like nothing else. You could eat 3 times what you'd eat in summer and still feel hungry. The little girl is sitting up in her buffalo robe, rubbing her eyes. Her older sister, maybe 7 winters, is already dressed and helping to fold up the sleeping robes and stack them against the back wall of the teepee. This is how it works. Everyone has a job, everyone contributes. Even the smallest children learn early that survival is a group project. You reach for one of the rawhide parfleshes hanging from a lodgepole. These containers, made from stiff buffalo rawhide that your grandmother taught you how to prepare, hold the really important stuff: dried berries, rendered fat, and pemmican. Pemmican is maybe the greatest invention your people ever came up with. It's definitely the one that keeps you alive when nothing else can. Here's how it works. You take dried meat, buffalo or elk or deer, and you pound it into powder, like actually pulverize it until it's basically dust. Then you mix it with rendered fat, the good stuff, melted and strained until it's pure grease. Add some dried berries, usually chokecherries or Saskatoon berries, and mix everything together until it forms a thick paste. 1 pound of this stuff contains maybe 3,500 calories. That's more than most modern adults eat in an entire day, and it lasts forever. Well, not forever, but close. Years, if you store it right. The fat seals in the meat, keeps air and bacteria out, and the whole thing stays edible through winter and spring and summer and the next winter after that. You could live on pemmican alone if you had to. Many of your ancestors did exactly that during lean times. It's portable, it's dense, it doesn't freeze solid in cold weather because the fat content keeps it soft, and it tastes, well, it tastes fine. Not great, not terrible. Just solid, dependable, life-sustaining food. You pull out a fist-sized lump and set it on the flat stone with the warming meat. Breakfast will be simple today. Warmed pemmican, dried meat, maybe some of the wild turnips from the underground cache if you're feeling ambitious. The underground cache. Now that's another piece of genius you don't really appreciate until you think about it. Outside, near the edge of camp, your family dug a pit before the ground froze completely, lined it with bark so nothing would spoil from direct contact with the dirt, filled it with dried vegetables, roots, whatever could be stored, then covered it with more bark and earth and snow. The frozen ground preserves everything, like a giant natural refrigerator. Stuff in that cache will stay good until spring, when the ground thaws and you need to eat everything quick before it goes bad. Your people didn't have refrigerators. They had winter. Same idea, really. The smoke from the fire is drifting up nicely, curling toward the smoke hole at the top of the teepee. But you notice the wind has shifted since last night. It's coming from the north now instead of the west, and that means the smoke flaps need adjusting. You grab your outer robe and duck outside. The cold hits you like a wall. Your breath freezes almost instantly, hanging in the air for a second before the wind tears it apart. The sun is up now, a weak pale circle that looks more like a moon than anything capable of warmth. All around you, the camp is waking up. Smoke rises from dozens of other teepees, all arranged in a great circle with their doorways facing east toward the rising sun. The east-facing thing isn't just spiritual, though it is that too. It's practical. The worst winds on the Great Plains come from the west. By facing the doors east, every teepee in camp presents its strongest side, that steep sloping back to the prevailing storms. And when you arrange the whole camp in a circle, with all those steep backs facing outward, you create a community windbreak. The teepees protect each other. The families inside protect each other. Nobody survives the winter alone. You walk around to the back of your teepee and grab one of the long poles attached to the smoke flaps. These poles extend from the ground all the way up past the smoke hole, and by moving them, you can angle the flaps to direct smoke away no matter which direction the wind is blowing. It's like a damper on a chimney, except your ancestors invented it thousands of years before anyone built a chimney. You push the pole forward and watch the smoke flap shift position. The smoke coming out of the hole changes angle, now flowing away from the wind instead of getting pushed back inside. Perfect. You adjust the second pole, the one on the other flap, and now both sides are set right. This is something you'll do multiple times today. Every time the wind changes, you come out and adjust. It seems like a lot of work until you consider the alternative, which is sitting inside a smoke-filled teepee, coughing and crying and slowly suffocating because you didn't bother to walk outside for 30 seconds. A woman from a neighbouring teepee waves at you. She's doing the same thing, adjusting her own smoke flaps, wearing the same kind of buffalo robe, doing the same dance with the cold that everyone in camp is doing right now. You wave back. Her name is Makes Good Moccasins. She's a few years older than you, with 3 children and a reputation for being one of the best hide workers in the band. The moccasins she makes are famous across several camps. People trade good horses for her moccasins. Cold one, she calls out. Could be worse, you call back, and it could be. You've heard stories of winters so brutal that entire camps froze, blizzards that lasted for days, burying teepees until the people inside had to dig their way out, temperatures that dropped so far below zero that horses died standing up, their blood turning to slush in their veins. This winter has been hard, but it hasn't been that hard. Not yet, anyway. You head back inside, and the warmth hits you like a blessing. The fire is burning strong now, the smoke drifting up cleanly through the adjusted flaps, the air inside warm enough that you can take off your outer robe without shivering. Your mother-in-law has the pemmican ready. She's cut it into portions, one for each person, and placed them on pieces of flat bark that serve as plates. The dried meat is warm from the fire, still a bit tough but chewable. The wild turnips came out of their storage bag and are roasting in the coals, their sweet, earthy smell mixing with the smoke. This is breakfast. Not exciting, but filling, dense with the calories you'll need to make it through another day. The children eat fast, like children everywhere. The oldest boy came back in while you were adjusting the smoke flaps. He reported that the snowbank is holding well, no contact with the hide, and you nodded approval. He's learning. In a few years, he'll have his own teepee, his own family, his own responsibilities, but for now, he's still young enough to be proud of a simple job well done. Your husband returns while you're finishing the last of your pemmican. His face is red from the cold, ice crystals forming in his eyebrows, but he's smiling. The horses are fine. The creek wasn't frozen too thick to break through. Everyone got water. He settles down by the fire, and you hand him his portion of breakfast. He eats in silence, the way men often do, focusing on the food with a kind of serious attention that means he's thinking about something else entirely. Hunting party leaves midday, he says finally. 3 days, maybe 4. Your stomach tightens a little. 3 or 4 days without him. 3 or 4 nights of tending the fire alone, watching the children, keeping everyone alive without his help. It's nothing you haven't done before, but it never gets easy. Take the grey horse, you say. He's strongest right now. He nods. He knows you're right. You've always been good with horses, better than him honestly, though neither of you would say it out loud. After breakfast comes work. There's always work. The buffalo robes that served as bedding last night need to be aired out. You carry them outside, one at a time, and drape them over a wooden rack built specifically for this purpose. The cold air will kill any bugs or mites that might have taken up residence, and the sun, weak as it is, will help dry out any moisture from body heat and breath. Then there's water to get, not from the creek, that's too far and too frozen for anything but horses. Instead, you take a large clay pot and fill it with clean snow from a drift away from the main path. You carry it inside and set it near the fire, not too close, just close enough to melt slowly. Snow is tricky for drinking. If you just eat it directly, it lowers your core temperature and your body has to burn calories to warm it up. Better to melt it first, then drink it at air temperature or even slightly warm. Your mother-in-law is working on something near the back of the teepee, a piece of buffalo hide stretched on a small frame that she's been scraping and softening for weeks now. It'll eventually become part of a new set of winter leggings for one of the children. The old ones are getting too small. Kids grow so fast. The scraping tool she uses is made from bone, an elk shoulder blade shaped and sharpened until it can slice through the membrane and fat clinging to the underside of the hide. The motion is rhythmic, almost hypnotic. Scrape, scrape, scrape. Pause to examine the work. Scrape again. She's been doing this for 50 years. Maybe longer. Her mother taught her, and her grandmother taught her mother, and somewhere back in the mists of time, the first women figured out that you could turn stiff, bloody animal skin into soft, supple leather by using brains. Yeah, brains. Here's the thing. Every animal has just enough brain to tan its own hide. The oils and fats in brain tissue act as a natural tanning agent, breaking down the proteins in the hide and making it soft and workable. So after you scrape a hide clean, you take the brains from the same animal and mash them up with a little water into a paste, then work that paste into the hide. It sounds gross. It is gross, but it works better than anything chemists would come up with for thousands of years afterward. After the brain tanning comes the smoking. You hang the hide over a low fire, letting the smoke penetrate the fibers, and this does two things. It gives the leather a beautiful golden brown color, and more importantly, it makes it waterproof. Rain and snow will bead up and roll off smoked leather instead of soaking in. Your mother-in-law has forgotten more about this process than most people ever learn. Her hands move automatically, decades of muscle memory guiding every stroke. She doesn't even need to look at what she's doing most of the time. Outside, you can hear the sounds of camp coming to life. Children laughing, dogs barking, the thump of someone splitting firewood with a stone axe. The low murmur of women talking as they work together on some shared project. This is community. This is how your people survive, not as individuals struggling alone against the cold, but as a group, each person contributing what they can, each family supporting the others. If your hunting party comes back empty-handed, the neighbour with excess meat will share. If your teepee cover tears in a storm, other women will help you repair it. If you fall sick and can't tend your own fire, someone will tend it for you. There's no social safety net in the way modern people would understand it, but there's also no need for one. The safety net is each other, always has been. The morning passes in work. You repair a small tear in one of the rawhide storage bags. You braid sinew into thread for future sewing projects. You keep the fire fed, adjusting the fuel mixture so it burns hot but not too fast. You check on the children, making sure the little ones stay warm and the older ones stay busy. By midday, the sun is as high as it's going to get, which isn't very high. The winter sun here never climbs far above the horizon. It just kind of slides across the southern sky, never giving full warmth, always threatening to dip back below the edge of the world. Your husband is gathering his hunting gear. Bow, arrows, a quiver made from buffalo hide, a knife with a bone handle, and a stone blade that he's sharpened until it's almost too sharp to handle safely. He's also packing pemmican, enough for 4 days if he's careful, and an extra pair of moccasins in case his get wet. Wet feet in this cold can mean death. Frostbite sets in fast when moisture is involved. The cold gets into your bones through the wet, steals your heat faster than air alone ever could. He stands in the center of the teepee for a moment, looking at you, looking at the children, looking at his mother, who's still scraping that hide like she doesn't even know he's leaving. "I'll be back," he says. You nod. Of course he will. He always comes back. That's what hunters do. And then he's gone, ducking through the door flap with another man from camp, heading out into the white world with their horses and their weapons and their hopes for fresh meat. The teepee feels different without him, emptier. The fire seems smaller, though it's burning the same as before. The wind seems louder against the hide walls. But you've done this before, many times. Your mother did it too, and her mother and her mother. Women have been keeping fires alive and children safe while men hunted since before anyone can remember. You add more fuel to the fire, you tell the oldest boy to check on the horses, just a quick look to make sure they're still there. You settle down next to your mother-in-law and pick up a half-finished piece of quill work that's been waiting for your attention. The afternoon stretches out ahead of you. Tomorrow will stretch out too, and the day after that. Until the hunting party returns with meat or returns empty, you'll maintain this home, this fire, this family. That's what women do. That's what you do. And outside, the snow keeps falling, soft and silent and cold enough to kill anyone caught without shelter. But you're not without shelter. You're inside a cone of sticks and hide that your grandmother's grandmother would recognize, doing work that your daughters and their daughters will do after you're gone. The fire pops. A log shifts in the coals. Your mother-in-law starts humming something, an old song you half remember from childhood. And the world keeps turning, slow and cold and patient, waiting for spring. The little girl won't stop asking about the horses. When is father coming back? Will he bring a buffalo? Can I go see the horses? Why can't I go see the horses? She's 4 winters old, and she has more questions than there are stars. You love her completely, and she is also driving you slightly insane. The horses are cold, you tell her. They don't want visitors right now. But I could warm them up. I could give them hugs. Your mother-in-law snorts from her spot near the back of the teepee. She doesn't look up from her hide scraping, but you can see her shoulders shaking with quiet laughter. Horses are bigger than you, the oldest boy says. He's sitting near the fire, working a piece of antler into something that might eventually become a tool handle. They don't need hugs from tiny people. I'm not tiny. You're the smallest person in this teepee. Grandmother is sitting down. I'm taller than her right now. Your mother-in-law does look up at this, one eyebrow raised. I am sitting because I am wise enough to rest when I can. You are standing because you haven't learned that lesson yet. The little girl considers this. So, sitting makes you wise? Among other things. She sits down immediately, right there in the middle of the teepee, crossing her legs and folding her hands in her lap like she's seen the elders do during ceremonies. Now I am wise, she announces. You press your lips together to keep from laughing. She's so serious about it. 4 winters old, and already convinced that wisdom is something you can just decide to have. The afternoon light is strange in winter. It comes through the smoke hole at an angle, making the inside of the teepee glow golden, even though the sun itself gives almost no warmth. Dust motes float in the beam, tiny specks drifting lazy and slow. The fire crackles. Someone in a nearby teepee is singing, the sound muffled by hide walls and distance. This is the quiet time. The work that needed doing in the morning is done. The evening work hasn't started yet. For a few hours, there's space to breathe, space to do the things that aren't strictly about survival. The 7-year-old girl, the middle child, pulls out a bundle from her sleeping area. Inside are her treasures, a small doll made from scraps of leather and stuffed with dried grass, with tiny quill work on its dress that she did herself, 3 pretty stones she found last summer near the river, a bone awl, her first real tool given to her by your mother-in-law when she showed promise at sewing. Can we play camp? She asks. The oldest boy groans. That's a girl game. You can be a hunter. You could hunt pretend buffalo. With what? She holds up a small stick. This could be a bow. He looks at the stick, looks at his sister, looks at you, hoping for rescue. Play with your sister, you tell him. You'll be on a real hunt soon enough. He sighs the way only 11-year-old boys can sigh, like the weight of the whole world rests on their shoulders, but he puts down his antler piece and takes the stick. What follows is the kind of chaos that happens whenever children play together. The little girl has given up on being wise and joined the game. The 7-year-old has set up a tiny teepee made from a scrap of hide and 3 small sticks. The oldest boy is stalking around the edges of the fire, making what he apparently believes are buffalo noises. You exchange a look with your mother-in-law. She shakes her head, but she's smiling. This is another piece of survival that doesn't fit neatly into categories. Play, games, the things children do that don't produce food or shelter or warmth but somehow matter anyway. Because here's the thing, that tiny teepee the 7-year-old built, she's learning, not in a formal way, not with lessons and tests, but through her fingers and her imagination. She's figuring out how poles need to lean against each other. She's understanding why the covering has to wrap a certain way. When she grows up and builds her first real teepee, her hands will already know what to do. The oldest boy, stalking imaginary buffalo, he's learning too, how to move quietly, how to read the ground, even if right now the ground is just the packed earth floor of your home, how to be patient, waiting for the right moment to strike. And the little girl, running around causing havoc, she's learning how to be part of a group, how to take turns, how to negotiate with siblings who don't always want to include her. None of this counts as education in any official sense. There are no teachers, no classrooms, no tests, but every generation learns what they need to know to survive, and somehow it happens right here in the middle of children's play. A voice calls from outside, "Sister, are you receiving visitors?" You recognize the voice. Makes good moccasins from the neighboring teepee. You call back, "Come in, come in." The door flap pushes aside and she enters, bringing a gust of cold air with her. She's wrapped in a thick buffalo robe, the fur side in against her body, and she's carrying a small rawhide bag. "I brought something for the children," she says, setting the bag down near the fire. "I was going through my stored things and found these." The oldest boy and the 7-year-old immediately abandon their game. Even the little girl stops running and peers at the bag with obvious curiosity. Makes Good Moccasins reaches in and pulls out a handful of small bones. Buffalo vertebrae, bleached white by sun and wind, carved into different shapes. "Bone ponies," the oldest boy breathes. You haven't seen bone ponies in a while. They were more common when you were young, before you moved to this particular camp. But you remember them. Boys would gather buffalo vertebrae and use them as toy horses, racing them against each other, building herds, trading them with friends. "Where did you find these?" your mother-in-law asks. "They were my son's when he was young. He's grown now with his own family. I thought these children might like them." The oldest boy is already picking through the bones, examining each one with the seriousness of a horse trader evaluating real animals. "This one looks fast," he says, holding up a vertebra that's been smoothed and shaped until it almost looks like a running horse. "Look at how long it is." "I want one," the little girl demands. "Choose carefully," Makes Good Moccasins tells her. "A bone pony is like a real pony. Once you pick one, it's yours to care for." The little girl's face goes serious. She crouches down and looks at each bone in turn, touching them gently, as if she could feel which one wanted to belong to her. You catch Makes Good Moccasins' eye and mouth. "Thank you." She waves it off like it's nothing, but you both know it isn't nothing. Generosity is one of the 4 main virtues your people hold sacred. Giving gifts, especially to children, is part of who you are as a people. What goes around comes around. When her children or grandchildren need something, you'll be there. That's how it works. Your mother-in-law sets down her scraping tool and reaches for a bundle wrapped in soft leather. Since we have a visitor, she says, perhaps it's time for a story. The children's heads snap up. Even the oldest boy, who likes to act too mature for such things, goes still with anticipation. A story? The little girl asks. If your mother permits. You nod. Of course you permit. Winter is the storytelling season. The old people say that certain stories can only be told when snow is on the ground, when the snakes are sleeping underground where they can't hear and carry tales back to the spirit world. You don't fully understand why this rule exists, but you follow it anyway. The old people knew things. They still know things. Your mother-in-law unwraps the bundle to reveal a pipe, the bowl carved from red stone, the stem wrapped in carefully beaded leather. This is a teaching pipe, not a ceremonial one, but it still carries weight. She doesn't light it, just holds it across her lap as she settles into her storytelling posture. The children gather close. Makes Good Moccasins settles down too, happy to hear a story she's probably heard 100 times before. You keep working on your quill work, but your ears are open. Long ago, your mother-in-law begins, before horses came to our people, before the metal tools, before many things, there lived a young woman who was known for her skill at making teepees. The 7-year-old leans forward. A story about a woman who builds things, right up her alley. This woman could tan hide softer than anyone. Her seams never leaked. Her poles were always straight. People came from many camps away to see her work and learn from her. Was she wise? The little girl asks. She was skilled. Wisdom came later. Don't interrupt. The little girl presses her lips together. One winter, the coldest anyone could remember, this woman's camp was struck by a great sickness. Many people died. The healers could not stop it. The ceremonies did not help. Day after day, more teepees fell silent. The fire pops. Outside, the wind has picked up again, whistling past the smoke hole. The woman prayed for help. She prayed to Wakantanka, the great mystery that connects all things. She prayed for 4 days without eating, without sleeping, and on the 4th night a spirit came to her in a dream. Your mother-in-law's voice has dropped lower. The children are completely still, barely breathing. The spirit said, the sickness comes through the air. It enters through the smoke hole when the wind blows wrong. You must find a way to bring fresh air into your teepee without bringing the sickness with it. How? The oldest boy asks, forgetting that he's supposed to be too mature to interrupt. That's what the woman asked, and the spirit showed her something, a tunnel, dug from outside the teepee, under the edge of the wall, directly to the fire pit at the centre. You know this part of the story, you've heard it before, but you still feel a small shiver when your mother-in-law describes it. The tunnel would bring fresh air from outside, cold, clean air that flowed along the ground where the sickness could not travel. The air would feed the fire, giving it oxygen to burn clean and hot, and the draft created by this tunnel would pull the bad air up and out through the smoke hole, taking the sickness with it. Did it work? The 7-year-old asks. The woman dug the tunnel that very night. Her hands bled from the frozen ground. Her back ached from the work, but by dawn she had done it. And do you know what happened? The children shake their heads. The fire burned cleaner than it ever had before. No smoke pooled inside the teepee, even on the calmest nights. The air stayed fresh and sweet. And one by one the people in her teepee began to recover. She saved them, the little girl whispers. She saved them, and she taught others how to dig the tunnel, and those others taught more. And even now, in some teepees, you can find that tunnel, bringing clean air to the fire, keeping the space inside healthy and clear. Makes Good Moccasins nods slowly. My grandmother's teepee had one of those tunnels. I remember playing in it as a child. We weren't supposed to, but we did anyway. Your mother-in-law carefully wraps the pipe back in its leather covering. The story teaches us that solutions come to those who pray with sincere hearts. It also teaches us that wisdom often comes through women, through those who build and maintain the home. Men hunt and fight. Women keep everyone alive. The oldest boy looks like he wants to argue this point, but he's smart enough not to. Now, your mother-in-law says, show me these bone ponies. Let's see if any of them are fast enough to race. The tension breaks. The children return to their toys, but with something added now. A story sitting in their minds, growing roots. They won't remember consciously deciding to learn it. But years from now, when they need to dig a tunnel to feed a fire, their hands will know what to do because they heard this story on a winter afternoon when they were young. That's how knowledge passes between generations, not through books or schools, through stories told by firelight while the wind howls outside and children play with bone ponies. You return to your quill work. The pattern is coming together nicely, red and yellow and blue, interlocking in a design your grandmother taught your mother who taught you. Each stitch takes time. Each stitch matters. Rushing means mistakes, and mistakes mean doing it over. The afternoon deepens. The light through the smoke hole shifts from gold to orange. Soon you'll need to start thinking about the evening meal, about adding fuel to the fire, about settling everyone in for another long, cold night. But right now, right this moment, you let yourself enjoy the warmth and the laughter and the soft sounds of children playing. Your husband is somewhere out there on the frozen plains, hunting meat to keep you fed through the rest of winter. You're here, tending the home, keeping the fire alive, making sure there's something warm and safe for him to return to. The little girl has named her bone pony. Snow Runner, she announces proudly, because he's white and he runs on snow. That's a good name, Makes Good Moccasins says. Snow Runner is the fastest pony in the whole world. He could run from here to the mountains and back before the fire burns down. That's very fast. He's magic. Magic ponies are the fastest kind. Your mother-in-law catches your eye across the teepee. She's smiling that small, quiet smile she gets when she's thinking about the past, about her own children when they were small, about the bone ponies they played with long ago. Generations connect in moments like these. The stories, the toys, the games, they all carry pieces of the past into the present. Nothing is lost entirely. Everything flows downward like water, finding new channels, adapting to new landscapes, but always maintaining its essential nature. You tie off a section of quill work and hold it up to examine in the firelight. The colours are bright. The stitches are even. Your grandmother would be proud. Outside, the sun is beginning its slow descent toward the horizon. It won't set for another hour or two, but the light is already changing, going from pale yellow to softer orange. The temperature will drop as the light fades. The fire will need more fuel. The smoke flaps might need adjusting again if the wind shifts. But those concerns are for later. Right now, there's a visitor sharing warmth with your family. There's children playing ancient games with old bones. There's a story settling into young minds like seeds waiting for spring. This is what winter is for, not just survival. Living. Makes Good Moccasins stands to leave before the light gets too low. I should get back before my own fire burns down, she says. Thank you for the bone ponies. Thank your mother-in-law for the story. I needed that today. You don't ask why she needed it. Everyone has their reasons. Maybe she's missing family far away. Maybe she's worried about something she hasn't mentioned. It doesn't matter. The story helped. That's enough. She wraps herself in her buffalo robe, nods to your mother-in-law, ruffles the hair of each child in turn, and ducks out through the door flap. The cold rushes in for just a moment before the flap settles back into place. You shiver, though the teepee is still warm. There's something about seeing the cold that makes you feel it, even when it can't actually reach you. I like her, the 7-year-old says. She's a good neighbour. Her moccasins are really nice. The ones she was wearing had beadwork all the way around the ankle. She's famous for her moccasins. People come from far away to trade for them. I want to be famous for something. What do you want to be famous for? The 7-year-old thinks about this seriously. I don't know yet. Maybe teepees, maybe quill work, maybe something nobody's done before. Then you'll have to invent it yourself. Can you invent things? Someone invented everything. The teepee, pemmican, bone ponies. Someone had to be first. She looks at her small play teepee, still standing near the fire where she set it up hours ago. You can practically see the wheels turning in her mind. Somewhere in there, a dream is being born. A dream about making something new, something useful, something that might outlast her by generations. You don't know if she'll ever achieve it. Most people don't invent things that change the world, but she's thinking about it now, and that matters. That's how progress happens. Not in giant leaps, but in small moments when a 7-year-old girl looks at a toy teepee and wonders if she could make something better. The oldest boy has lined up all the bone ponies in a row, organizing them by size. He's talking to himself quietly, narrating some imaginary race or battle. The little girl is curled up against your mother-in-law's side, fighting sleep, her bone pony clutched in one small fist. The fire burns, steady. The smoke rises clean through the adjusted flaps. The hide walls hold back the killing cold. And in this small space, carved out from the endless frozen plains, life continues. Simple, hard, beautiful life. You set down your quill work and stand to check on the evening meal preparations. There's more pemmican, of course, and some dried berries that would taste good, warmed with a little fat. Maybe you'll make a soup, something hot and filling to see everyone through the night. The work of survival never really stops, but it does pause sometimes. It takes a breath, looks around, remembers why survival matters in the first place, and then it continues. The sky changes colour so fast you almost miss it. 1 minute you're checking the evening fire, adding a few more buffalo chips to keep the flames steady. The next minute, the light coming through the smoke hole has gone from orange to a bruised purple-grey that makes your stomach tighten. You've seen that colour before. Everyone on the plains has seen it. It means weather is coming. Bad weather. The kind that buries camps and freezes anything stupid enough to be caught outside. You move to the door flap and push it aside. The cold hits you immediately, but that's not what makes you catch your breath. It's the clouds. They're rolling in from the northwest, low and heavy and moving faster than clouds should move. The wind has picked up since Make's good moccasins left, and now it's carrying a smell with it. That sharp, metallic smell that comes before big snow. Grandmother, you call back into the teepee, keeping your voice steady for the children's sake. Come look at this. Your mother-in-law sets down her work and joins you at the doorway. She studies the sky for a long moment, her face unreadable. Tonight, she says quietly, maybe sooner. How bad? Bad enough. You both know what needs to happen now. There's a routine for this, handed down through generations like everything else. A checklist that doesn't exist on paper, but lives in the bones of every woman who's survived winters on the Great Plains. "Children," you say, ducking back inside, "I need you to help me with something." The oldest boy looks up from his bone ponies. He's old enough to recognize the tone in your voice, old enough to know something's wrong. "Storm coming?" "Storm coming. I need you to check every peg around the bottom of the teepee. Make sure they're all driven deep. If any feel loose, come tell me." He's already pulling on his outer robe, his face gone serious. This is real work now, not play. "What about me?" the 7-year-old asks. "You're going to help me gather everything we might need and move it to the center. Food, water, extra fuel, everything important comes close to the fire." "What about me?" the little girl echoes. "You're going to stay right by grandmother and do exactly what she says." The little girl opens her mouth to protest, sees the look on your face, and closes it again. Even at 4 winters, she understands that some moments aren't for arguing. Your mother-in-law is already moving. She's done this more times than you can count. Her hands work fast, gathering the parfleches with the dried meat and pemmican, stacking them in a neat row near the fire pit. The rawhide bags with dried berries go next to them. Then the container of rendered fat, precious stuff that burns hot and long when you need emergency fuel. You grab the twisted grass bundles from the lodge poles and pile them near the fuel stack, then the dried buffalo chips from near the doorway, then the extra hides that were stored against the back wall, the ones you could use for additional insulation if things get really bad. The oldest boy comes back in, his face red from the cold. 3 pegs were getting loose. I hammered them down with a rock. "Good. Now help me with the liner." The inner lining of your teepee is critical in normal weather. In a real storm, it becomes life or death. You need to make sure it's sealed tight at the bottom. No gaps where wind could sneak through. The 2 of you work around the perimeter, pressing the weighted edge firmly against the ground, adding extra stones where the fit isn't quite right. Outside, the wind is getting louder. You can hear it moaning past the teepee, a low, continuous sound that rises and falls like breathing. The hide walls flex slightly with each gust, but they hold. They're designed to hold. The 7-year-old has moved all the food containers. She's arranged them neatly, sorted by type, which wasn't what you asked, but is exactly the kind of thing she would do. She likes order. She likes things to make sense. You hope that serves her well when she's grown and has her own storms to weather. "Grandmother," the little girl says in a small voice, "is father going to be okay?" Your heart clenches. You've been trying not to think about your husband out there somewhere, hunting with the other men, probably still hours from camp. He knows the weather, he knows what to do, but knowing what to do and being able to do it aren't always the same thing. "Your father is very smart," your mother-in-law says. She pulls the little girl onto her lap. "He's been hunting in winter since before you were born. He knows how to find shelter when storms come." "What if there's no shelter?" "Then he'll make shelter. Hunters know how to dig into snowbanks, how to find hollows in the land where the wind can't reach. They know how to wait out storms. Your father will be fine." She sounds so certain. You wish you felt that certain. The light outside is fading fast now, and not just because evening is coming. The clouds have thickened, blocking whatever pale sunlight remained. Through the smoke hole, you can see only grey, a solid mass of grey that seems to press down on the world. A call comes from outside, not words exactly, just a series of sounds that carry between teepees. You recognize the pattern. It's the storm warning passed from family to family around the camp circle. Everyone checking in, letting neighbors know they're secured and ready. You go to the door and call back. The same pattern of sounds. Received, understood, prepared. Other voices echo around the camp, some closer, some farther. It takes maybe 5 minutes for the warning to circle all the way around and fade into the wind, but in those 5 minutes you feel something shift, a connection, a reminder that you're not alone in this, even if it feels that way sometimes. The first snowflakes start falling just as you finish securing the door flap. They're not the pretty, gentle flakes you see in the early parts of winter. These are small and hard and driven by wind that's picking up strength by the minute. They don't float down so much as fly sideways, slamming into the buffalo hide walls with a sound like sand against leather. Dinner, your mother-in-law says. It sounds odd talking about food when a storm is building outside, but she's right. Everyone needs to eat while they can. No one knows how long this will last, and a full stomach helps you stay warm. You take a portion of pemmican, add some dried berries, and warm the whole mess in a small clay pot over the fire. It's not much of a meal, but it's dense with calories. The children eat without complaint, which tells you they understand the seriousness of what's happening. The oldest boy finishes first. He's watching the teepee walls, tracking the way they pulse and flex with each gust of wind. "How long can the storm last?" he asks. "Longest I ever saw was 5 days, your mother-in-law says. 5 days? We didn't leave the teepee for 5 days. Ate, slept, told stories, waited. The snow piled up so high against the walls that we had to dig our way out when it finally stopped." The 7-year-old's eyes go wide. "You couldn't get out for 5 days? Didn't want to get out. Getting out meant the storm. Staying in meant warm and safe. Wasn't a hard choice. But what about the horses?" Your mother-in-law pauses. "We lost some horses that time. The storm came too fast, couldn't get them all to shelter. The children go quiet. Losing horses is serious. Horses are everything out here. They're transportation, wealth, power. Losing a horse is like losing a piece of your future." You think about your 11 horses in the makeshift corral at the edge of camp. Are they sheltered enough? Did anyone move them to better ground when they saw the storm coming? You don't know. You were too busy securing your own teepee to check. Nothing you can do about it now. The storm is here. Going outside would be suicide. You just have to trust that whoever was watching the herd made the right calls. The wind is screaming now. Actually screaming, a high-pitched wail that sounds almost human. The smoke hole above you has become a tunnel of swirling snow and darkness. You adjusted the flaps before the storm hit, angling them to keep the worst of the wind out, but some snow is still getting through. Small flakes spiral down and sizzle when they hit the fire. "Or more fuel," you say, and the oldest boy hands you a bundle of twisted grass. You add it to the flames, watching them leap higher, fighting back against the cold that's pressing in from every direction. The temperature inside the teepee has dropped, not dangerously low, but you can feel it. The storm is testing your walls, probing for weaknesses. Every gust of wind steals a little heat. Every bit of snow that makes it through the smoke hole lowers the air temperature just slightly. This is the battle that happens during every winter storm. Heat versus cold, shelter versus exposure, life versus the endless frozen nothing that wants to claim everything. You add more fuel, check the children's robes, making sure they're wrapped tight, add another layer of hides to the pile near the fire, ready to use if things get worse. "Tell us a story, grandmother," the 7-year-old says. Her voice is steady, but you can see her hands trembling slightly. She's scared. They're all scared. So are you. Your mother-in-law pulls her closer. What kind of story? The kind that makes the storm feel smaller. That's maybe the best description of what stories are for that you've ever heard. Making storms feel smaller, making the dark feel less dark, making the cold feel less cold. Your mother-in-law thinks for a moment. Then she starts speaking, her voice low and rhythmic, almost like singing. Long ago, when the world was new, there was a young woman who got lost in a blizzard. She wandered for hours, unable to see her hand in front of her face. The snow was so thick and the wind so strong that she couldn't tell up from down, earth from sky. The children are listening, their bodies still, their eyes fixed on their grandmother's face. She prayed for help, and as she prayed, she stumbled into something warm, something soft. She reached out and felt thick fur. She had walked right into the side of a sleeping buffalo. In a blizzard? The oldest boy asks. Buffalo are smart. When storms come, they don't run from the wind like cattle do. They turn and face it. They lower their great heads and let the snow pile on their thick shoulders. They stand together, using their body heat to keep each other alive. And the woman? The woman pressed herself against the buffalo's side. He didn't run. He barely moved. He just stood there, solid as a mountain, his thick fur breaking the wind, his body warmth seeping into her frozen bones. She stayed there through the whole storm, huddled against his side. Did she survive? She did. When the storm ended, she tried to thank the buffalo, but he just looked at her with those big dark eyes, huffed once, and walked away to find his herd. He never asked for anything in return. He just helped because that's what buffalo do. The fire pops. The wind howls. But somehow the teepee feels a little warmer than it did a moment ago. Is that a true story? The little girl asks. All stories are true in some way, your mother-in-law says. The truth in this one is that we're not alone, not ever. The buffalo give us their hides and their meat and their sinew. They give us everything we need to survive, and sometimes when we need it most, they give us even more. You look around your teepee, the walls are buffalo hide, your robes are buffalo hide, the sinew that holds everything together came from buffalo, the fat that makes your pemmican taste good came from buffalo, the bone needles your mother-in-law uses for sewing came from buffalo, the glue that seals the seams came from buffalo. Everything. Every single thing that stands between you and the killing cold outside can be traced back to those great shaggy animals who share this land with you. No wonder your people consider them sacred. No wonder every hunt is accompanied by prayers of thanks. The buffalo don't just feed you, they keep you alive. They make survival possible. The storm continues to rage outside. The snow piles up against the teepee walls, adding another layer of insulation, making the space inside feel even more like a cocoon. The wind finds every tiny gap and whistles through, but the fire holds its ground, pushing warmth back against the cold. You're not going anywhere tonight. None of you are. The world outside has become a white, howling nothing, impossible to navigate, instant death for anyone foolish enough to try. But inside, there's light, there's warmth, there's food and family and stories that make the storm feel smaller. The little girl has fallen asleep against your mother-in-law's side, her bone pony still clutched in one hand. The 7-year-old is fighting it, her eyes heavy but her body refusing to give in. The oldest boy is awake and alert, watching the fire, watching the walls, watching for any sign that things are getting worse. He's growing up fast, that one. Storms have a way of aging people. By the time this winter ends, he'll be different. More cautious, maybe. More aware of how thin the line is between safe and not safe. But he'll also be stronger. That's what winters do. They strip away everything soft and leave only what's necessary. They teach you what matters and what doesn't. They show you who you really are when everything else falls away. You settle back against your own pile of buffalo robes, positioning yourself where you can reach the fire easily, add fuel when needed, monitor everything important. Sleep isn't really an option for you tonight. Someone has to keep watch. Someone has to make sure the fire doesn't die. That someone is you. Your mother-in-law catches your eye across the flickering flames. She gives you a small nod. Understanding, approval, maybe even pride. You nod back. And then you settle in to wait out the storm, one breath at a time, one moment at a time, surrounded by everyone you love in a home made of sticks and hide and the accumulated wisdom of 1,000 generations. The wind screams, the fire crackles, the buffalo robes hold their warmth. And somewhere out there, beyond the white chaos, your husband is sheltering in whatever hollow or drift he could find, waiting for the same storm to pass, trusting that you'll keep the home fires burning until he can find his way back. You add more fuel to the flames. You will keep them burning, no matter what. Midnight comes and goes without ceremony. You know it's midnight because the fire has burned through exactly half the fuel you set aside for the night. You've been counting. Every bundle of grass, every buffalo chip, measured and rationed so they'll last until dawn. It's the only way to mark time when you can't see the sky and the storm has swallowed everything outside. The children are asleep. Even the oldest boy finally gave in a couple hours ago, his head drooping until it rested against his grandmother's shoulder. Your mother-in-law is dozing too, though you suspect she's not sleeping as deeply as she looks. Old women learn to rest while staying half awake. It's a survival skill, like everything else, so it's just you and the fire and the endless roar of the wind. You add another buffalo chip to the flames, watch it catch, feel the small bloom of heat push back against the cold that never quite stops pressing in from the walls. This is what your mother did when you were the age of the little girl sleeping across the fire from you. You remember waking up sometimes in the deepest part of night and seeing her silhouette against the flames, adding fuel, adjusting the coals, keeping everyone alive while they slept. You didn't understand then what it cost her. The tiredness, the worry, the way every creak of the lodge poles made her heart jump. You understand now. Funny how becoming a mother changes the way you see your own mother. All those things she did that seemed so ordinary, so automatic, they weren't automatic at all. They were choices made over and over again in the dark hours when no one was watching. She chose to stay awake. She chose to tend the fire. She chose to put everyone else's comfort before her own, and now you're making the same choices. The wind shifts. You can tell because the sound changes pitch, goes from a low moan to something higher and sharper. The smoke from the fire bends slightly, then straightens. The flaps are still set right. Good. You don't want to go out there again unless you absolutely have to. Your hands are busy even when the rest of you is still. You're working on a piece of leather, a strip that will eventually become a strap for one of the parfleshes that's wearing out. The work doesn't require much thought, just repetition. Fold, punch a hole with the bone awl, thread the sinew through, pull tight. Fold, punch, thread, pull. The repetition is soothing. It gives your mind something to focus on besides the storm and your husband and all the things that could go wrong in a world that doesn't care whether you survive or not. You were 16 winters old the first time you kept fire watch alone. Your mother had gotten sick, not badly, but enough that she couldn't stay awake through the night. Your father was away hunting, like your husband is now. Your younger brother was just a baby, still nursing, demanding attention even in his sleep, so it fell to you. You remember being terrified, sitting by the fire, watching the flames like they might go out if you blinked, convinced that everything depended on you and you weren't ready. You couldn't do this. You were going to fail and everyone would freeze and it would be your fault. But morning came. The fire didn't go out. Your mother woke up feeling a little better. Your brother woke up demanding food, same as always. And you realized that you had done it. You'd kept everyone alive for one night. That was the moment you understood that courage isn't about not being scared. It's about being scared and doing the thing anyway, being terrified and sitting by the fire anyway, worrying about your husband and adding fuel to the flames anyway. Every woman you know has had that moment, that first night when the responsibility landed on her shoulders and she discovered she could carry it. Some carry it heavier than others, some have easier loads, but they all carry. The storm seems to be getting worse, if that's possible. The teepee walls are flexing more than you'd like, bowing inward with each major gust before snapping back. The poles creak against each other at the top, groaning like old bones. Snow is piling up against the outside of the hide so thick that you can see the walls bulging slightly at the bottom. That's actually good, in a way. More snow means more insulation. The cold from outside has to fight through another layer before it can reach you. But it also means more weight pressing against the structure, more stress on the poles and the covering. Your teepee is strong, you built it well. But even strong things can break if pushed hard enough. You check the liner again, running your hand along the bottom edge where it meets the ground. Still tight, still sealed. The stones you added earlier are holding it down firmly. No drafts sneaking through. Somewhere outside, a dog is howling. Or maybe it's a wolf. Hard to tell in the storm. When all sounds get twisted and distorted by the wind, the howl rises, holds, falls away. Another one answers it from farther off. Then silence, or what passes for silence when the wind is this loud. You think about your husband again. You can't help it. He's out there somewhere, in this. Hopefully sheltered, hopefully warm enough, hopefully with the other hunters so they can share body heat and keep each other from doing anything stupid. Hunters are good at survival. They have to be. A man who can track buffalo across endless plains, who can read weather in the colour of the sky and water in the shape of distant hills, he can find a way through a storm, probably dug himself into a snowbank the moment the weather turned. Probably sleeping right now, curled up with another hunter or two, waiting for dawn. That's what you tell yourself. That's what you have to believe. The little girl stirs in her sleep, mumbles something, pulls her buffalo robe tighter around herself and settles again. Her bone pony has slipped from her hand and lies on the packed earth floor near her head. You reach over and tuck it back into her grip. She sighs without waking. 4 winters old. She has no idea how fragile life is, how easily things can go wrong, how much work it takes just to make it through a single night. She sleeps peacefully because she trusts that the adults will keep her safe, that you will keep her safe, and you will. You have to. The fire needs more fuel. You add the next bundle of twisted grass, watching the flames leap up and catch. The light flickers across the sloped walls, making shadows dance. For a moment, the inside of the teepee looks like it's moving, like the whole structure is breathing. In a way, it is. The hide walls expand and contract with changes in humidity and temperature. The poles shift slightly as the wind pushes and releases. The smoke hole opens and closes depending on how the flaps are set. Your home is alive in a way that houses built from wood and stone never are. You've heard about those other kinds of houses. Traders come through sometimes talking about the places they've seen to the east and south, stone buildings that can't be moved, wooden cabins that stay in one place forever. The traders seem to think these are better, more advanced, more civilized. But how do you follow the buffalo if your house can't move? How do you find fresh grazing for your horses if you're stuck in one spot? How do you escape bad water or too many people or ground that's been hunted out? Your teepee can be taken down in less than an hour. The poles become a travois pulled behind horses. The covering folds up into a manageable bundle. Everything you need to survive fits on the back of a few animals, ready to go wherever the buffalo go. That's not primitive, that's smart, that's freedom. The wind dies down slightly. Just for a moment, a pause in the screaming, a breath of something almost like quiet. Then it roars back, louder than before, and the teepee walls bow inward again. But something about that pause makes you think the worst might be over. Storms breathe just like people. They build to a peak, hold there, then slowly exhale. Maybe you're past the peak now. Maybe the rest of the night will be a long, slow exhale. The wind gradually dropping, the snow gradually stopping. Or maybe you're fooling yourself. Maybe this is just a lull before it gets even worse. You've seen storms do that too, trick you into thinking they're over and then come back harder than ever. Nothing to do but wait. Keep the fire burning. Keep watch. Trust that morning will come eventually, the way it always has, the way it always will. Your mother-in-law's eyes open. She looks at you across the fire, her gaze steady. How long? She asks quietly. Few hours until dawn. Maybe more. She nods slowly. You should rest. I'll watch. I'm fine. You're tired. I can see it in your face. You are tired. The kind of tired that goes deeper than muscles, settles into your bones, makes your thoughts move slow like cold honey. But you shake your head. Can't sleep. Not with him out there. She doesn't argue. She understands. When her own husband was alive, before he crossed over to the other side, she spent plenty of nights awake and worrying. It's what you do when you love someone. You carry the weight of their absence, even when you can't carry anything else. He's strong, she says. I know. He's smart. I know. He'll come back. I know. You don't know. Not for certain. Nobody ever knows for certain. But you say it anyway because saying it makes it feel more true, and sometimes feeling is all you have. The oldest boy shifts in his sleep, rolling onto his side, pulling his buffalo robe up over his head. He looks so young like that, so vulnerable. In a few years he'll be going on hunts with his father, facing storms like this one in the open, learning what it takes to survive without walls between him and the wind. You hope you can teach him enough before then. Hope you can give him what he needs to come back every time, the way you hope his father is coming back now. The fire crackles. You add more fuel, even though it's a little early according to your rationing plan. The extra warmth feels necessary right now, worth the risk of running short later. Outside, the storm continues, but it does seem slightly less angry than it was an hour ago. The wind still howls, but the howl has dropped in pitch. The snow still falls, but maybe not quite as thick, not quite as driven. Dawn is coming. Not soon, but coming. You can feel it the way you can feel water underground or game in the distance. Something about the quality of the darkness, the rhythm of the wind, tells you that the night is more than half over. You'll make it to morning. You will, and then you'll dig out the entrance, check on the neighbours, count the horses if you can reach them, start putting life back together the way you always do after a storm, and you'll wait for the hunting party to come home. That's the hardest part. Not the cold, not the wind, not the long hours of keeping watch, the waiting, the not knowing, the endless hoping that the next sound you hear will be footsteps approaching through the snow. But you're good at waiting. All women are. It's another skill you learn without anyone teaching you, picked up through years of watching other women wait. Wait for hunters, wait for babies, wait for storms to pass and seasons to change and life to move forward. Waiting is its own kind of work. People don't always understand that. They think waiting is passive, just sitting around doing nothing. But real waiting takes effort. It takes strength. It takes deciding over and over to keep hoping even when hope feels foolish. You're not just sitting by a fire. You're holding your family together with nothing but heat and stubbornness and love. The little girl sighs in her sleep again. The 7-year-old mumbles something about bone ponies. The oldest boy snores softly under his pile of robes. Your mother-in-law has closed her eyes again, but you can tell she's not really sleeping, just resting, conserving energy for whatever tomorrow brings. The wind howls, the fire burns, and slowly, so slowly you almost don't notice, the darkness outside the smoke hole begins to lighten, just a shade, just a hint. Dawn is coming. You add the last of your rationed fuel to the fire and settle back to watch the light grow. You made it through another night. Whatever comes next, you'll face it with everyone you love still breathing, still warm, still here. That's victory. That's survival. That's everything. The silence wakes the children before you can. After hours of screaming wind, the sudden quiet feels almost violent, like someone stopped shouting in the middle of a word. The oldest boy sits up first, blinking, looking around like he's not sure where he is. Is it over? He asks. Sounds like it. You push yourself up from where you've been sitting for what feels like forever. Your back aches, your legs have gone stiff. There's a crick in your neck that might never go away, but you're awake, the fire is still burning, and everyone is alive. That's a good morning. The light coming through the smoke hole is pale and clean. No more swirling snow, no more grey chaos. Just clear winter sky, the colour of a robin's egg, impossibly blue after all that darkness. Can we go outside? The 7-year-old asks. She's sitting up now too, her hair sticking out in every direction, her eyes still puffy from sleep. After breakfast, and after I check things, your mother-in-law is already stirring the fire, adding the last few buffalo chips from the overnight supply. She looks tired but calm. She's been through this before, many times. One more storm survived is just one more story to tell someday. The little girl is the last to wake, and she wakes cranky. 4-year-olds don't understand why they can't immediately have everything they want. She wants to go outside. She wants to see if SnowRunner can run in real snow. She wants her father to come home right now. Soon, you tell her. Everything soon. You pull on your outer robe and push against the door flap. It doesn't move. Of course it doesn't. The snow has piled up against it during the night, probably several feet deep. You push harder, putting your shoulder into it, and feel the flap give slightly. A crack of light appears at the edge, blindingly bright after the dim interior of the teepee. "Help me," you say to the oldest boy. Together, you push. The flap bends outward, compressing the snow behind it. More light floods in, and cold air too, sharp and clean and so fresh it almost hurts to breathe. One more push, and you break through. The world outside is white, completely, absolutely white. The storm dumped at least 2 feet of new snow on top of what was already there, and the wind sculpted it into drifts that reach higher than your head in some places. The other teepees in your camp are half buried, their conical shapes rising from the snow like strange mushrooms, smoke already curling from some of their smoke holes. You climb out through the gap you've created, sinking into snow up to your thighs. The cold bites at your legs through your leggings, but you barely notice. You're too busy looking around, taking inventory, making sure nothing terrible happened while you couldn't see. The first thing you check is the teepee itself. Walk around the outside as much as the snow allows, looking for damage. The poles are all still standing. The covering shows no tears or holes. The snow banked against the walls is thick and heavy, but the gap you've maintained between snow and hide seems intact. No rot, no problems. Your home made it through. Other people are emerging from their tipis now. You can see Makes Good Moccasins digging her way out a few tipis over, her breath making clouds in the still air. An older man, whose name you can never remember, is standing on top of his drift, shading his eyes against the glare, looking toward the edge of camp where the horses were kept. The horses. You need to check on the horses. But first, you need to make sure your own family is secure. You duck back inside, where the oldest boy has already started helping the children dress in their warmest clothes. Your mother-in-law is portioning out breakfast, more pemmican, more dried berries, fuel for the work ahead. "I'm going to check the horses," you tell her. "Keep everyone inside until I get back." She nods. She knows there might be bad news. Better that you see it first, figure out how to tell the children, than have them stumble onto something they're not ready for. The walk to the horse area takes 3 times as long as it should. The snow is deep and soft, grabbing at your legs with every step, making you work for every bit of progress. Other people are walking the same direction, all of them wearing the same worried expression you can feel on your own face. The makeshift corral is barely visible under the drifts. The fence posts poke up through the white, marking where the enclosure used to be, but the crossbars are completely buried. And the horses, you count them. Once, twice, 3 times, because the first 2 counts don't match, and you need to be sure. 9. There are 9 horses where there should be 11. Your stomach drops. 2 missing from ours also, says the older man, the one whose name you can't remember. He's standing next to you, looking at the same scene, his face grim. Storm must have spooked them. They probably broke through the fence somewhere and ran. They'll freeze out there. Maybe not. Horses are tougher than we give them credit for. They might have found shelter somewhere, a grove of trees, a hollow in the land. We can send people to look once we get dug out. That's the hope you hold on to as you walk back to your teepee. 2 horses lost, maybe, or maybe just 2 horses wandering somewhere, scared and cold but alive, waiting to be found. You won't know until someone can search, and no one can search until the paths are cleared and the camp is back in order. The children are eating when you return. The little girl has calmed down, focused on her food with the single-minded intensity that children bring to everything. The 7-year-old is chattering about the snow, how she wants to build things in it, how she's never seen so much snow in her whole life. "How bad?" your mother-in-law asks quietly. 2 horses didn't make it through, or maybe they ran, we don't know yet. She closes her eyes for a moment. 2 horses is a real loss. Not devastating, but real. It means less carrying capacity when the camp moves. It means someone will have to walk farther, work harder, but everyone is alive. All the people in your teepee, all the people in the camp. No one froze in the night. No teepees collapsed. The storm took a little, but it could have taken so much more. After breakfast, the real work begins. Everyone who can hold a tool comes out to dig. Men, women, children, old enough to be useful. The snow has to be cleared from the paths between teepees. The common areas need to be accessible. The fire pits for cooking larger meals need to be uncovered. You work alongside Makes Good Moccasins, shoveling with wide flat pieces of bark that serve as snow scoops. The motion is repetitive and tiring, but there's something satisfying about it too. Every scoop of snow moved is a small victory. Every cleared path is a step back toward normal life. "Your husband?" she asks between scoops. "Still out there somewhere. They'll come back when they can." My brother went with that party. I keep looking toward the hills like I expect to see them any moment. Me too. You share a look of understanding. Two women waiting for men to come home. It's a story as old as time, repeated in every generation, in every camp, across all the lands your people have ever roamed. The children have been put to work too, the ones old enough to help. The oldest boy is part of a group clearing the path to the water source, the frozen creek that lies a short walk from camp. The 7-year-old is helping pile cleared snow into walls that will serve as windbreaks for the cooking areas. Even some of the younger children are contributing, carrying small loads, running messages between groups. The little girl wanted to help, but there wasn't much she could do that wouldn't slow everyone else down, so she's with the other very young children and the very old people gathered in one of the larger teepees, keeping warm and keeping out of the way. By midday, the camp is starting to look like itself again. Paths crisscross between teepees packed down by many feet until the snow is firm enough to walk on easily. The cooking areas are clear, with fires already burning in some of them. Someone managed to reach the underground cache and is distributing stored vegetables to families who want them. You take a break to eat something, sitting on a cleared log near one of the community fires. The sun is high now, as high as it gets in winter, and there's actual warmth in it. Not much, but enough to feel on your face, enough to remind you that the world isn't all snow and darkness. "Look," someone says. You turn to follow their pointing finger, looking toward the western hills. There are shapes on the horizon, small and dark against the white expanse, too far away to identify, but moving toward camp. Your heart stutters. "Hunting party?" someone else asks. "Too soon to tell." "Count them. How many shapes?" You squint against the glare, trying to resolve the distant figures into something recognizable. There are several of them, maybe 6 or 7. The hunting party had 8 men. That's close. That could be them. But it could also be something else. Other travelers, hunters from a different camp, animals moving across the snow. You won't know until they get closer. Everyone has stopped working now, watching the horizon. The whole camp stands still, breath held, waiting to see who or what is approaching. The figures get bigger, closer. You can see they're moving in a line, one after another, the way people do when they're breaking trail through deep snow. The lead figure is working hard, pushing through drifts, and the others follow in the path they create. "That's people," someone says. "That's definitely people. On foot. Where are their horses? Maybe they lost them in the storm." That wouldn't be surprising. If the storm caught them far from shelter, they might have let the horses go to save themselves. Horses can survive in the cold better than men can. Sometimes the smart move is to dig in and wait, let the animals find their own shelter. The figures are close enough now that you can start to make out details. Winter robes, walking sticks, heavy packs on some of their backs, and then you see him. Your husband, walking third in line, his head down against the glare, his legs churning through the snow. He's alive. He's coming home. The relief hits you so hard you almost sit down right there in the snow. Your knees go weak, your eyes blur, and for a moment you can't breathe. He's okay. He made it. Whatever happened out there, however bad the storm was, he survived. Someone lets out a whoop. Then others are cheering, calling out, waving to the approaching hunters. Children come running from wherever they were, wanting to see their fathers, their uncles, their brothers. You don't run. You stand where you are, watching him get closer and closer, and you let the tears come because nobody's looking at you anyway. They're all looking at the hunters, the returning men, the miracle of everyone coming home. He sees you before he reaches the edge of camp. You can tell by the way his head comes up, the way his stride changes. He's tired, exhausted really, but he's moving faster now, coming for you. When he reaches you, he doesn't say anything. He just puts his arms around you and holds on. And you hold him back, and for a long moment the whole world is nothing but the two of you standing in the snow while the camp celebrates around you. "I knew you'd keep the fire burning," he says finally, his voice rough. "I told you I would. I know. That's how I knew." The oldest boy appears from somewhere, slamming into his father's legs, hugging him so hard he almost knocks them both over. Then the 7-year-old, shouting about the storm and the snow and "Did you bring any buffalo meat?" And finally, the little girl, carried by her grandmother, reaching out with both arms, demanding to be held. Your husband picks her up, settles her on his hip, and looks at you over her head. His face is weathered and tired and beautiful. "Good hunt, you ask?" "We got 3. They're a ways back on the travois. The boys are bringing them. 3 buffalo, meat for weeks. Hides for new robes, new bags, new repairs, fat for cooking and waterproofing and 100 other uses. No one hurt? Few frostbitten fingers. Nothing serious. We found an overhang, rode out the worst of it. Coldest night of my life, but we made it." The little girl is patting his face, demanding attention. "I have a bone pony," she tells him. "His name is Snow Runner. He's magic." "Is that so? He can run on snow. He can run anywhere. That's a pretty good pony." She nods solemnly, then puts her head on his shoulder and closes her eyes. She's asleep within seconds, the way only children can be, completely surrendered to the safety of her father's arms. Your husband looks at you again. "It's good to be home. It's good to have you home." The words are simple, but they carry everything. All the waiting, all the worrying, all the long hours of keeping watch while the storm raged outside, all the hope and fear and love that kept you awake when your body wanted nothing but sleep. This is what it means to be a family. This is what it means to survive together. And tomorrow, or the next day, or the day after that, the camp will move. Follow the buffalo herds, find fresh grazing for the horses, set up new teepees in a new place, and do the whole thing again. The cycle continuing, the way it has for thousands of years, the way it will for as long as there are buffalo and horses and people willing to follow them. But that's tomorrow. Today, right now, your husband is home. Your children are safe. Your teepee is standing. Your fire is burning. That's enough. That's everything. The travois arrive as the sun starts its slow slide toward the horizon. 3 buffalo, just like your husband said. They're frozen solid from the journey, which actually makes them easier to handle. The hunters drag them to the center of the camp circle, where the community butchering will happen, and everyone gathers around to help. This is work that belongs to everyone. Your mother-in-law takes charge, the way the older women always do. She's done this more times than anyone can count. Her hands know exactly where to make the cuts, how to separate hide from meat without wasting anything, which parts go to which families. You work beside her, learning. Every time there's butchering, you learn something new. The angle of this cut, the trick to getting that tendon loose without tearing it. Small lessons that add up over years until someday you'll be the one directing others. The children watch from a safe distance, the ones old enough to be interested. The oldest boy is right at the edge of the working area, paying close attention. Someday he'll be on the hunting party instead of waiting at home. He needs to know how the whole process works. From tracking to killing to this, nothing goes to waste. That's the rule. That's been the rule forever. The hides will be scraped and brain-tanned, turned into robes or parfleches or teepee covers. The meat will be eaten fresh tonight and dried into jerky for later. The fat will be rendered down for pemmican and for waterproofing leather. The bones will become tools, needles, awls, scrapers, toys, like the bone ponies the children love. The sinew will be pulled into thread for sewing, the bladders and stomachs will become bags for carrying water and storing food. The hooves will be boiled into glue. Even the brains have their use. Every animal has just enough brain to tan its own hide. It's almost like they were designed that way. The work is hard, but not rushed. There's a rhythm to it, a pace that lets people talk while their hands stay busy. Stories get told, jokes get made. Someone starts singing, a simple song with a simple melody, and others join in. The sound rises into the cold air, mixing with the steam from the warm carcasses, creating something that feels almost sacred. Your husband is telling the hunt story to a group of men near one of the fires. You can hear pieces of it as you work, the tracking through the snow, the moment they spotted the small herd, the careful approach, staying downwind, moving slow enough that the buffalo didn't spook. 3 shots, he's saying. 3 clean kills. We were lucky. Lucky, yes, but also skilled, also patient, also willing to spend days in the cold, waiting for the right moment. Luck doesn't mean much without all the rest. The 7-year-old has gotten bored watching and wandered over to you. She's too young for the heavy work, but she can help with small tasks. You give her a pile of sinew to sort, the long fibres from the short ones, and she settles down next to you with the careful concentration she brings to everything. "Will we have fresh meat tonight?" she asks. "We will. I can't remember what fresh meat tastes like." You smile. It's only been a few weeks since the last fresh meat, but to a child that might as well be forever. You'll remember when you taste it. The sun drops lower, the light turns golden, then orange, then the deep red of a winter sunset. The butchering is almost done, the meat divided into portions and carried off to individual tipis. Your share is generous, enough to last your family several days of good eating. Someone has started a cooking fire in the central area. Several someones, actually. The smell of roasting meat begins to fill the camp, and your stomach growls so loud the 7-year-old giggles. "Hungry," she says. "Me too." Dinner happens in waves. People eat when their food is ready, gathering in loose groups around the fires, sharing what they have. Your family settles near Makes Good moccasins and her people, the children mixing together the way they always do. The meat is good. Better than good. After days of pemmican and dried berries, the taste of something freshly cooked is almost overwhelming. You eat slowly, savouring every bite, letting the warmth of it spread through your body. The little girl is sitting on her father's lap, gnawing on a piece of meat that's probably too tough for her, but that she refuses to give up. Her bone pony is tucked into the front of her dress, safe and warm. Every few bites, she checks to make sure it's still there. Your husband looks different in the firelight, more relaxed than he has in days. The hunt is over. The storm is over. His family is fed and safe. For tonight, at least, there's nothing to worry about. "Tell about the overhang," the oldest boy says. "Where you stayed during the storm." Your husband shifts, settling the little girl more comfortably. It wasn't much, just a place where the rock stuck out from a hillside, enough to keep the worst of the snow off us. "Were you scared?" "Cold. Mostly. Too cold to be scared." He pauses, thinking. "Though I did think about you all. Wondered if the teepee was holding, if your mother had enough fuel for the fire." "She did," the oldest boy says, proud. "She kept it burning all night. I helped." "I know you did." The 7-year-old leans against you, her belly full, her eyes getting heavy. "I want to hear a story," she murmurs. "What kind of story?" "A quiet one." You look around the fire circle. Most of the children are in the same state, drowsy and content, fighting sleep because they don't want to miss anything but losing the battle bit by bit. One of the older men clears his throat. He's been sitting quietly, eating slowly, watching the fire. Now he speaks, his voice low and rough and somehow exactly right for the moment. "I'll tell you about the stars," he says. The children perk up slightly. Even the adults go quiet, turning their attention to him. A long time ago, before there were people, the sky was dark all the time. No sun, no moon, no stars. Just darkness everywhere, forever. His voice has a cadence to it, a rise and fall that matches the flickering of the flames. You've heard this story before. Everyone has, but it sounds different each time. The words change slightly, the details shift, but the heart of it stays the same. The animals lived in that darkness. They learned to feel their way, to smell their way, to hear what they couldn't see. But it was hard. Many of them died because they couldn't find food, couldn't find shelter, couldn't find each other. The little girl is asleep now, slumped against her father's chest. Her breathing is slow and even, her face peaceful. She'll hear this story someday when she's old enough to stay awake for it. One day, a group of animals decided to do something about it. They were tired of stumbling around in the dark, so they gathered together and made a plan. The fire crackles and pops. Somewhere in the camp a dog barks once, then goes quiet. The birds would fly up into the sky as high as they could go and try to find where the light was hiding. The moles would dig down into the earth to see if the light had been buried there. The fish would swim to the deepest parts of the water, searching. You rest your hand on the 7-year-old's back, feeling her breathe. She's still awake, barely, her eyes half closed, but still watching the storyteller. They searched for a long time. Days, seasons, years. The birds flew until their wings ached. The moles dug until their claws wore down. The fish swam until they forgot what dry land looked like. The story goes on. You know how it ends, how the animals finally find the light and bring it back, how they put some in the sky as the sun and scatter the rest as stars, but knowing the ending doesn't make the telling less important. Stories aren't just about what happens. They're about sitting together in the firelight, feeling connected to everyone who's ever told this same story, everyone who ever will. By the time the old man finishes, most of the children are asleep. Parents are gathering them up, carrying them back to teepees, settling them into warm piles of buffalo robes for the night. Your husband hands you the little girl, still deeply asleep, and picks up the 7-year-old who's too drowsy to walk. The oldest boy follows behind, yawning, trying to look like he's not as tired as he obviously is. The walk back to your teepee is short and cold. The temperature has dropped again, the way it always does after sunset, and you can see your breath making clouds in the still air. But the fire inside is burning well, tended by someone while you were at the community meal. And the warmth that greets you when you push through the door flap feels like a blessing. Getting everyone settled takes a while. The children need to be undressed and tucked into their sleeping places. The fire needs to be checked, fuel added, the smoke flaps adjusted for the night. Your husband checks the teepee walls, running his hands along the inside of the covering, feeling for any spots where cold might be seeping in. "Still tight," he says. "Your work held through the storm. Our work. You did most of it." He's right, but it doesn't matter. The teepee belongs to both of you, the way everything belongs to both of you. The work of keeping a family alive isn't something you divide up and measure. It's just something you do, together, however it needs to be done. Your mother-in-law is already in her sleeping place, her eyes closed, though you're not sure if she's actually asleep. She worked hard today, harder than someone her age probably should, but she'd never admit to being tired. Too much pride for that. You settle into your own place, next to your husband, with the children arranged around you. The buffalo robes are warm and heavy, and your body feels like it's sinking into the earth itself. Everything aches, your back, your arms, your legs, even your hands, from all the cutting and sorting during the butchering. But it's a good ache, the kind that comes from doing what needed to be done. Your husband puts his arm around you, pulling you close. His body is warm against yours, and you can feel his heartbeat, slow and steady, already halfway to sleep. 3 buffalo, he murmurs. Good hunt, good hunt. Might move camp in a few days. Follow the herd south. I know. You don't mind the moving. It's just what happens. The buffalo go where the buffalo go, and your people follow. That's the way it's always been. The fire crackles softly. The smoke rises through the hole above, carrying sparks up into the darkness. Through the opening, you can see a few stars, the same ones the old man was just telling stories about. SnowRunner had a good day, the little girl mumbles. Not quite asleep, not quite awake. Shh, you whisper. Sleep now. He ran in the snow. He's a good pony. He's a very good pony. Sleep. She sighs and goes still, finally surrendered to the warmth and the darkness and the safety of being surrounded by her family. The sounds of the camp are fading, fires being banked, door flaps being tied shut, voices going quiet one by one until there's nothing but the wind and the night and the patient breathing of everyone you love. You should sleep too. Your body is begging for it, but you lie there for a few more minutes, just feeling this moment, letting it settle into your memory. The storm came. You survived it. The hunters came home. Everyone is safe. Tomorrow there will be more work. Meat to dry, hides to tan, maybe preparations for moving camp. But tomorrow is tomorrow. Right now there's just this. The warmth, the quiet, the gentle sound of the fire. Your husband's arm tightens around you slightly, a small unconscious movement holding you closer. You close your eyes, and sleep, when it comes easy. The fire has burned down to embers now. Just a soft orange glow in the darkness, steady and warm, throwing gentle shadows against the teepee walls. You don't need to add more fuel. The night is half over, and the cold outside has eased. Tomorrow will be warmer. You can feel it in the air, that subtle shift that comes before a thaw. Your husband's breathing has gone deep and even beside you. He's been asleep for hours, his body finally surrendering to the exhaustion of the hunt, the storm, the long walk home through the snow. He deserves the rest. They all do. The children are arranged in their usual pile, tangled together like puppies, sharing warmth without thinking about it. The little girl is pressed against her brother's back, her bone pony clutched in one small fist even in sleep. The 7-year-old has thrown one arm across her sister, protective even while dreaming. Your mother-in-law's breathing is the slowest of all. Deep and steady, the rhythm of someone who has slept through 1,000 nights like this one and expects to sleep through 1,000 more. You should be sleeping too, but there's something about this moment that you want to hold onto, something worth staying awake for, just a little longer. The smoke hole above shows a circle of stars, clear and bright, scattered across the darkness like sparks from a fire. The same stars the old man was telling stories about earlier, the ones the animals brought back from wherever they'd been hiding. You wonder sometimes what the world looked like before those stories were true, when everything was darkness and the animals had to feel their way through it. It must have been terrifying, or maybe not. Maybe they didn't know any different. Maybe the light only seems necessary because you've grown used to having it. The walls of the teepee breathe around you. Not literally, of course, but there's a gentle movement to them, a flex and sigh as the wind outside pushes against the hides and they push back, like something alive, like something that knows you're inside and wants to keep you safe. Your grandmother used to say that a teepee has a spirit, that when a woman builds one, she puts part of herself into it, her skill, her knowledge, her love for the people who will live inside, and the teepee remembers. It holds that spirit for as long as it stands. You didn't understand that when you were young. It sounded like old person talk, the kind of thing grandmothers say that doesn't make sense until you're old yourself. But now, lying here in the dark with your family breathing around you, you think you understand. This teepee is yours. You built it with your own hands, scraped the hides, sewed them together, raised the poles, adjusted them until everything sat just right. And every night it keeps you warm. Every storm it stands against the wind. Every morning it's still there, still standing, still home. That's not nothing. That's everything. The fire shifts, settling deeper into its bed of ash. A tiny shower of sparks rises toward the smoke hole, orange against black, and then they're gone, disappeared into the night, carrying their heat up into the cold sky. You pull the buffalo robe a little higher, tucking it under your chin. The fur is soft against your face, still carrying that faint smell of smoke from when you tanned it. Good hide, good work. It'll last for years yet. Your husband murmurs something in his sleep. You can't make out the words, but the tone is peaceful. Whatever he's dreaming about, it's not bad. Maybe he's dreaming about the hunt, the good parts, the moment when they spotted the buffalo herd, the clean shots, the satisfaction of providing for his family. Or maybe he's not dreaming at all. Maybe he's just floating in that warm, dark space between thoughts where the body rests and the mind is finally, blessedly quiet. That sounds nice. You close your eyes. The sounds of the night settle around you like another blanket. The wind, softer now, whispering against the teepee walls. The fire crackling gently, a sound so familiar you barely hear it anymore. The breathing of your family, different rhythms overlapping into something like music. Somewhere far away, a wolf howls. Just once, a long note that rises and then fades into silence. It doesn't sound threatening. It sounds lonely, like it's calling for something it lost or something it hopes to find. Maybe tomorrow you'll start preparing for the move. Pack up the things that aren't needed right now. Check the travois for any damage from the storm. Make sure the horses are ready for travel. But that's tomorrow. Right now, there's just this, the warmth, the quiet, the gentle darkness that wraps around you like arms. Your mother used to hold you like this when you were small, when the nights felt too big and the world felt too scary. She would wrap you up in a robe and hold you close and whisper that everything was going to be all right. And you believed her because she was your mother, and mothers know these things. Now you're the mother. You're the one who keeps the fire burning. You're the one who builds the shelter and guards the door and whispers that everything is going to be all right. And it is. It really is. The children are safe. Your husband is home. The teepee is standing. The fire is warm. There's food stored away for tomorrow and the next day and the day after that. The storm passed. The buffalo came. The wolves stayed away. Everything you need. Right here, right now. Your breathing slows to match the rhythm of the fire, in and out, rise and fall, like waves on a shore you've never seen, like wind through grass in summer, like all the peaceful things that happen over and over without anyone having to make them happen. The stars wheel slowly overhead, but you don't see them anymore. Your eyes are closed now, your body heavy with sleep, your mind drifting toward that warm, dark place where thoughts dissolve into dreams. The teepee holds you. The fire guards you, the night embraces you, and somewhere in the distance the wolf calls again, but softer this time, farther away, like it's found what it was looking for and doesn't need to search anymore. You sink deeper into the robes, deeper into the warmth, deeper into the quiet certainty that you are exactly where you're supposed to be, doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing, surrounded by exactly the people you're supposed to love. This is your life. This is your home. And as sleep finally takes you, as the last thread of wakefulness unravels and lets go, you feel something like gratitude. Not the sharp kind you have to think about, the quiet kind that just lives in your bones, for the buffalo that gave their lives so your family could live. For the women who taught you how to build a shelter that could stand against the winter. For the fire that never went out, not even on the coldest night. For the children breathing softly beside you, growing a little bigger every day. For your husband's arm heavy across your waist, holding you even in sleep. For all of it, every single bit of it. The last thing you're aware of is warmth all around you, inside you, part of you, and then you're asleep. Really, truly asleep, safe in the shelter your own hands built, warm in the robes you tanned yourself, home. And if you were listening, really listening, you might hear your own breathing slow to match the others, might feel your heartbeat gentle into that easy rhythm that means the body has surrendered, the mind has quieted, the spirit has found rest, but you're not listening anymore. You're just sleeping. The way people have slept for thousands of years under these same stars, in shelters just like this one, warm and safe while the winter wind sang outside. Some things don't change. Some things don't need to. Good night.